We all love a good magical story. Did you know that the frozen planet could be a great place to put it? Hey everybody, my name is Rob, this is my mom Karen. We are your hosts over at Books, Banter, and Beyond, and today, for any of you who are familiar with magic, fantasy, maybe even a little bit of science fiction too, you might know that many authors, classic and new, like to use specific settings. It could be a city, it could be a planet, or in this case, it could be a area of the world, specifically that of the frozen tundra. Now, prior to looking this up, I never really thought about the fact that this is actually a thing. But as I was going through, and we're going to go through a couple examples of books, I did notice that for some reason, and we'll find out today what it is, a lot of fantasy authors like to use ice. To me, maybe it's kind of the epitome of ice is, where everything goes to stop. And you
Right.
would think, well, that's not a place for magic. So maybe there's the hidden magic underneath, all the frozen. Maybe it's a place of mystery where you don't want to be shown, so you hide in the ice. But a lot of times, the icy world, so to speak, is a great place to be, right? So we have a few books we're going to go over, and I think you may have heard of a couple of these. First off, Philip Pullman and the Golden Compass, probably one of the most popular on the list today. This one takes place in the frozen north and plays a central role in the main character's adventure. The Arctic setting is home to things like armored polar bears, magical dust, and of course, a dangerous organization doing things they're not supposed to be doing in the middle of nowhere. Um, I remember reading this a while back. I had to go back and read a little bit because it's been quite a while. The Golden Compass definitely does encompass the fantasy trope. I don't know if you remember this one or if you're familiar with Pullman.
Not really, but
So those who have read it will know what I'm talking about. For those who haven't, it's really your typical, girl goes out for adventure, has to meet up with some rogue characters, and basically all of them have to go and defeat the bad guy at the end of this. But I think what Pullman does do well in this is use the location to his advantage. So for someone who hasn't read it, just off your brain for a second, when you think of somebody going on an adventure through the Arctic, does that seem odd, or can you see how that maybe
I
could
I
work?
can see how it could be a thing. I mean, in fact, I know there are a lot of stories of terrible things that happen when they go off on a Arctic adventure. So that, and of course, Frozen comes to mind when.
That's actually in a way because that is
Right,
a
right.
off of a fairy tale, so that too
But I
also
totally can
does
see
play
it.
a role in
Yeah,
how stories are
right,
translated, right?
right.
Number two is actually a really interesting one, and I looked this one up and read a little bit of it. So those who like remakes of, like I just said, fairy tales, Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik actually weaves the tale of Rumpelstiltskin, but he lives in a frozen kingdom now.
Hmm.
Now, that's really cool to me because what this does is basically take a character that we all have read before and just kind of move him to a different area, right?
Right, right.
In this story, the main character named Miriam possesses the ability to turn silver into gold instead of, I think it was hair,
Or
um,
straw.
straw,
Yeah,
excuse me, into gold. So not only is the location different, but the silver color epitomizes what frozen looks like, right?
right, right, right.
Silver is cold looking. It's got that gray tint. What does ice look like? It kind of has that tint as well. So I love this one because not only is it one that I already know the story for, because like I said, we all read it, but it definitely makes you look at it from a perspective that I myself would have never thought, right?
That seems really cool. Actually, I might look that up.
And for those who are curious, if you actually, if I know if you know or not, a lot of these stories have been retranslated into other versions. So people who do like fairy tales, there are actually a lot of these stories that take the same main title character, but basically transform them into a different power, into a different place, maybe a little bit of a different story as well. So this is actually a very popular trope right now of retelling fairy tales, basically, which I think is kind of neat, you
That's
know?
kind of cool. So that's an actual trope, retelling fairy tales.
Yeah, a lot of times people will do that. They'll either turn them kind of dark, they'll either turn them maybe more kid friendly, or they'll
Interesting.
just turn them into a totally different genre that you never would have expected from, your favorite fairy tale
Right, right,
characters. Lastly on the list, we have R.A. Salvatore, who is known all around for his fantasy, specifically for his creatures, his super magic, a little bit of kind of the science fiction. And in his book, The Icewind Dale, or his trilogy, The Icewind Dale, again, he uses the frozen tundra to basically talk about the perils of what magic can do, but also how great the destiny of it can be due to the perils. Kind of like you were saying a second ago, how when you're out there and it's dangerous,
right,
get to the end, you kind of get a better reward because you went through
right.
all this crazy. So I don't know. I'll pass it to you because I know you have a couple questions for me. But what do we think? What
Well, clearly, this is something that just strikes fancy with you. I mean, you.
It's definitely
Yeah, yeah.
cool when you take a old idea and revamp it to a point that actually makes it new instead of just
Right.
re-sharing, I guess.
Right, and all the old idea of the icy setting, right? So, do you think, or how does an icy setting enhance these themes? And in a magic theme story, do they enhance them? Do you think it's necessary?
I mean, enhance or not, I don't know. I feel like you could do the same thing, putting them in, let's say, a desert or putting them in maybe a tropical rainforest. I think what's interesting about ice in general, and I think we've already said it a few times, is I think ice gives you that layer, that extra layer of fear
Right,
because you don't know, when it's going to melt, when it's going to break.
right,
And if you watch any
right,
shows about people who live in the north, you know that generally ice is a problem because we don't know what it's going to do. It's going to change in
right.
an instant. So I think in any way you look at it, the fact that these authors and others are using the frozen tundra, it's really interesting. It really does kind of give you a, I don't know, edge of your seat feel maybe,
So, I mean, I
right?
think I already know the answer to this next question I'm going to ask you, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So, which of these three books interests you the most? And I'm going
Hmm.
to guess it's that middle one, the Rumpelstiltskin
I
style.
was gonna say I'm just gonna go until pick a totally different one. Yeah, I mean, I think because I've read Golden Compass, I've read Salvatore, but I think generally in this case of these three, I do like the fact that they turned a fairy tale character into something different, but something different to the point that it's not even like the regular character you know of. So when
Right.
you read this guy, you're thinking this isn't the same Rumpelstiltskin that
Right.
I remember. This is kind of a new person, even if it's the same guy. So that to me is what makes that book so intriguing because it's the same person, two personalities,
Yeah,
maybe.
I would say the same thing because even just in reading it, even if you didn't know, and I don't know, in Spinning Silver, does this the author actually say this is a retelling of the Rumpelstiltskin, or it's just the story, and you know by reading it that it's the retelling,
Right. That's a good point. Yeah.
right? And so I kind of think if it's the second, that it's not implicitly stated, but you simply read it and you go, oh gosh, this is like familiar. Oh wow, this is cool. That kind of thing. I don't. Do you
Right.
know if it was written with the
I don't
actual?
remember off the top of my head because I was just reading through bits of
Yeah,
it. But I would like to think on your end that it would be the I don't need to tell you who this
you're
is.
gonna know.
You already know. I kind of like that idea better.
Yeah, no, me too. I think it's cool. So I'm going to make the assumption, Rob, in your amazing online bookstore, the Next Chapter Bookstore shop. There are all sorts of books in there, fantasy.
Hmm.
I don't know if you have a particular book that has ice in the theme, but that's a challenge for you guys. Go check it out. See if you can find a book or two that has the ice, and magic in the theme. All
There
sorts
you
of
go.
books in there, right? I mean, these are all gently used, which we both love, the idea that somebody has held these books and it made their day and now it's going to make your day. So I love that. Go check it
There you
out.
go.
Lots and lots and lots of categories to choose from. Any last thoughts, Rob, before we say goodbye to everyone?
As I always usually sign off, just go read a book. Go enjoy the fantasy.
And go visit the bookstore. Goodbye to everybody from Books Banter and beyond.